Hey there. You are listening to the Black Hat Loading Podcast, playing host to world-renowned ethical hackers and cybersecurity trainers. Black Hat Middle East and Africa is the answer to the region's thriving cybersecurity market. Join our conversations as we catch up with InfoSec leaders in an effort to continue winning the cyber war.
Welcome to another edition of the Black Hat MEA podcast series. Today, I have Vandana Verma, Security Relations Leader at Snyk, joining. We're going to discuss navigating open source security and third-party dependencies. One of the things I have to add is Vandana does a lot of great things for the cybersecurity community, gives freely of her time. She's a friend and we personally know each other, so it's really awesome to be interviewing Vandana today. So a short bio on Vandana is the security leader at Snyk with responsibility for product security and security relations. Prior to joining Snyk, Vandana worked as a security leader at several companies, including IBM, Accenture, and Wipro. Vandana received her master's degree in cybersecurity law and security from NALSAR and an MBA from Symbiosis Institute. She is currently pursuing her PhD in cybersecurity. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. And it's wonderful to be part of the show with you. I know you from past so many years. So it's good to be part of the show and part of Black Hat MEA.
Yeah, great to have you on the show. And I look forward to seeing you once again. So at least if we don't get to see each other at summer camp, we'll get to see each other at Black Hat MEA. So kind of to give everyone a little overview of what we'll be discussing today is open source security issues, third-party dependency issues, and different languages to what shall we do to make sure we secure open source world. Open source software has gained significant popularity in recent years due to numerous benefits. However, it also comes with its own set of security issues, with third-party dependencies being the most significant. Third-party dependencies in different languages may have vulnerabilities that can be exploited by attackers, thereby putting the entire system at risk. To ensure that we're secure in the open source world, developers must regularly update their dependencies and fix known vulnerabilities. Additionally, developers can also use automated security testing tools and manually review their code for potential security issues. It is crucial to prioritize security and take proactive steps to mitigate risks in open source software. So explain your role at OWASP. The OWASP Top 10 is as well followed. How important is it to keep track of it?
So about my role, I am one of the global board of directors. It's been my 4th year on the board. So it's like a 2-year term. And this is my 2nd term with OWASP. First year, I was a treasurer. And during the COVID times, where we were balancing the money, made sure that we are striving. And then I became a vice chair for OWASP, then became a chair. So that was an interesting take. And today I'm also still a board member. So now while I talk about these roles and how exactly it's shaping up OWASP Top 10, OWASP Top 10 is one of the projects for OWASP. But there are other maybe 140 plus projects which are there, including OWASP ZAP. That's also very famous in the industry, where people take it as a proxy and they use it very widely. Even QA people use it. A lot of organizations are contributing to the enhancement of the project. Similarly, projects like WebGoat, that used to be very, very famous when I started my application security testing. It used to come in CD. So OWASP Top 10 came into limelight because we didn't have anything to call it as, like, to look for in application security. And it became like a framework, a standard, but it's majorly top 10 risks that organizations should look at. And it's not just one risk, it is multiple risks that are associated with it. If we go deep down into each risk, there are multiple CVEs, common vulnerability exposure scores, that has been assigned to it, hundreds and hundreds of CVEs associated with one vulnerability. So I would say it is something which people should look at. It is something which people should refer to. And this is something which is very key in the industry. So OWASP is well known for top 10, but there are other projects as well that people should definitely look at.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of OWASP. It's just amazing all the things that they provide for free to the industry. And as you mentioned, like OWASP Zap providing, this great tool, whereas otherwise you'd have to pay for some other commercial tool to do the same things. So you kind of mentioned OWASP Zap. So what are some of the best open source tools that you would recommend?
So I have a lot of love for OWASP, so I'm going to recommend. So for threat modeling, there's a tool called Threat Dragon. It is wonderful because a lot of people never used to consider threat modeling as a challenge, but these days it's a big discussion topic that we all need threat modeling. Even network security, people have started talking about Mitre and many other organizations which are trying to perform that kind of threat modeling and giving you an exposure to details. So Threat Dragon is one of that. And then for requirements gathering, for training developers, and for mapping up the requirements, Security Knowledge Framework is a really good project from OWASP. Then, like especially for startups, you cannot just go ahead and buy any tool. So it's best to start off with open source tools. So for tracking the minutest of details in your ecosystem, like a system where you can track the bugs. So there's a tool called Defect Dojo by OWASP that people can look at. Then for developers, proactive controls, coding guide, which was updated in 2017, but we are updating again now. So you will see the updated version in a couple of weeks, so that anyone and everyone who wants to understand coding security can be really relevant. And another thing that we started discussing in the beginning was the third-party dependencies. That's a very, very big challenge because now we have 80 to 90% of the code on the internet, which is open source. That's a huge amount of code because we are living or breathing totally on the third-party dependency, third-party frameworks, or the platforms that are there. Because I would say that we don't want to reinvent the whole wheel. There are platforms available we want to leverage, but like Spider-Man says, or this analogy is that with great power comes great responsibility, which means when we have these third-party dependencies, we need to track them. We need to make sure we know what we have. Like if we don't know what we have in our house, how are we going to save it? So sometimes a developer downloads something on the internet and goes away from the team. That's fine, we still can track it. OWASP Dependency Check is amazing tool which we can leverage for supply chain security, which is again a big discussion in the market. So Dependency Track is there, where we can track what are the licenses which have the issues in our environment, what are the third-party dependencies which are outdated, because we have seen cases like Log4Shell, then there were issues with Apache ecosystem and whatnot, NPM ecosystem. So all of these ecosystems have issues, but then if we keep our systems up to date, if we keep our third-party dependencies up to date, we can actually remove half of the things, half of the issues that are there in the industry right now. Because we are seeing that the trend is repeating, but what we want to see is something new. So I would say third-party dependency is like a big risk to an organization, as it's helpful as well at the same time.
So what are some steps that can be used to mitigate those risks associated with the third-party dependencies?
I would say let's track them. Like in our house, we have certain windows, we have certain back doors, we have certain doors. So we should know what doors we have, where thieves can come in. But if we lock all our doors, how many windows do we have? When we go out, we know that these windows should be closed. So we need to track them. Probably we need to create a CMDB where we could create a database of all the things that we have possibly in the environment. Then with the version, with the vendor, at the same time, if we cannot do it, there are professional tools available. These are the open source tools are available. So we can leverage them, and we can create SBOMs, which is software bill of materials, where we get to know what is the product or what is the dependency, which vendor is there, what version is there, and when was it last updated. And at the same time, one thing I realized that there are so many challenges right now, even with the update. So there was a discussion last week at RSA, it was at RSA discussion that what shall we do with these dependencies when the maintainers themselves make these dependencies vulnerable? What would you do? So with Caller and Faker, these are the two big packages in NPM.js. ecosystem, what the maintainer did was with caller, the person added a loop condition to the package, which means as soon as somebody executes the updated package, they will have a loop condition and code will break, the application will break. So what should you do? Whether you go back or whether you change it. So very, very important to keep a track of all of these things so that if something goes wrong, you know what to do and you know where to look for the another package or for an alternate thing, because it's very, very important, or how soon you roll back or what will happen. You will lose the business, you will have a lot of challenges and whatnot. So making sure that you know what you have, I think that's the first step to start off when we talk about third-party dependency. Keep yourself up to date.
So what about security audits and testing? How does that play into the overall security of open source projects?
I think that's a very, very good point, because security testing and auditing are both go hand in hand. I've seen people getting scared of security audits, but I would say I think they are very necessary, and they don't. If a security audit fails, I think we don't need to be worried about it. It is just that it's telling us that there's something wrong right here, right now. Let's fix it and not wait for something bad to happen. So let's be very honest in these security audits and see where things went wrong. So I would say internal and external both audits are really needed. At the same time, security testing is very much needed, because if we can hack into our own house, which means without the key, which means anyone else can also be. So you don't want that. You want to make news, but you don't want to be in the news for any wrong reason. So be very, very clear of where things can go wrong. So security testing, where things can go wrong. At the same time, where things might have gone wrong from a security audit standpoint. Both of them are equally important when we talk about these ecosystems.
Another hot topic is like software development life cycle. So what are your thoughts on that? Is this something security should be built into this? Should it be part of the process? What's your opinion on that?
I think security should be built into it. Like security by default is a term which is like circulating in for a long time. So what does it mean is that when we start discussing about a feature, when we start discussing about an application, we think about where exactly things can go wrong. Like we talk about designing a document, that these things are needed, but and these things, where things can go wrong. So starting from there itself, even after building that, you go into the coding phase where you use a certain package, you use a certain language, could be Java, JavaScript, or something else, or like Python. So when you start doing that, you recall, okay, things can go wrong at any place in all of these packages, but we need to keep ourselves up to date. So there has to be a regular test. And now we're talking about SDLC, which is Secure Software Development Lifecycle, where we talk about that earlier the releases used to be in a year, in 6 months, but now they are in a couple of weeks, couple of days, and in a day there are many releases which are happening. So how would you do that? So automate things. Automate as much as humanly possible where the tasks are very much repeated. So if a security issue comes in, okay, there's a security issue, but we have to go live. Let's go live. And now when we've gone live, let's start fixing this bug and make sure that this goes again on the production. So we are not giving attackers a big playground to play with. So we have to make those kind of things with software development life cycles. And I have been in a situation where I've stopped the releases as well. But I don't think so that's a very feasible idea, or to fail any build. Why? Because we don't know how much mature we are to handle such situations. So we need to accept risks. But when we talk about accepting risks, we need to be sure that there has to be security fixes sent in a day, two, but we define that timeline. Now, there was a breach which happened in 2017 because they were using an older version of Apache, which gave attackers access to remote code execution. So they were able to play around with that. Now, when the vulnerability was released, the updated package was released. And after that, when it was reported or when it was figured out, there was a good 5 months gap. So if you leave your older package for 5 months, anyone can get into your network, even though you're not a very, very well-known company or maybe a startup or something. So you don't know who is just keeping a check on you. So I would say it's very, very important to have the security built in the pipeline automate as much as humanly possible. If you don't have bandwidth to buy new tools, let's evaluate the open source tools which are there. And I've seen people saying that, oh, I bought this tool, but it is of no use. Trust me, I've been on an open source side, I've been on a vendor side. I would say I love both of them. Both of them are equally important. Open source is like giving a platform to test you out, test your environment, to tell you that these are the things that you should have. And then the commercial tools help you build on top of it, because you know your appetite, what you need, and then you buy a commercial tool which gives you those things, and then you build on top of it. I think that's one way to look at. So open source and commercial both are needed, and you should know what you have.
Very interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting topic, and it's really good to see that people are getting on board with the software bill of materials, and you're seeing more companies building in security in the software development lifecycle, because it wasn't that long ago that it was just kind of a foreign concept to do those things. It's good to see that catching on. But now let's kind of pivot in more to some questions around the upcoming conference. So from a cyber executive, what excites you about Black Hat?
Black Hat is one of the conferences which I totally love. Let me be honest. I'm part of the Black Hat Asia Review Board Committee, so I know how much efforts Black Hat put it in. And when I talk about Black Hat MIA, it has grown. Like the first year itself was so huge, and the kind of papers, and I've been reviewing the old paper, like all the old submissions and everything. The quality of the papers are huge. It's amazing. It's incredible, and it's a territory which I've never been to, so I'm really looking forward to. Let's put it this way. And all the speakers, all the setup. Last year I couldn't go, but I have been hearing from people that it was amazing. All the friends that attended, they were just praising about the conference. So I'm really looking forward to the conference and meeting people from the conference.
Yes, there was a lot of what they refer to as FOMO for me last year, seeing that conference and wanting to go. And so, yeah, I've been excited to attend. So what do you expect? What do you expect at Black Hat MEA?
I am expecting to eat a lot of amazing food, because I know that the food is amazing. I am expecting to meet all the wonderful leaders from MEA region, especially Dr. Reem. I've been wanting to meet her for a very long time. She's one of my mentors and one of the person I look up to. I've met a bunch of people at one of the conferences in Dubai a few months back, but then a lot of people I'm still wanting to meet, and I'm going to meet you. And I also want to learn the different trends. Like every conference is different. Similarly, Black Hat MEA is again very huge conference. Like the turnout is huge. So again, it gives me a platform to connect with that many people, learn from them, and share my viewpoint with them. So that's what I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing the global audience that it brings into those conferences and some of the subject matter experts. So I'm looking forward to it myself. So what can the audience look forward to from your engagements?
I would be talking a lot about supply chain risks, vulnerabilities, and what open source can offer when we talk about supply chain issues. So I'm going to be touching upon all these points. But if you want to know more about it, I would like all of you to join my talk, including my friend Philip, and share your thoughts. And I want it to be more like a discussion after the talk. So I'm sure I have a lot to learn from other people as well who are working as industry leaders in this area.
Well, thank you for joining today, Vandana. Thanks for sharing your insights on open source security and third-party dependencies. It's truly been a captivating discussion, and we cannot wait for you all to join us at Black Hat MEA. Thanks, everyone, for joining the episode, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, Vandana.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. If there's a topic you want us to discuss, please send in your suggestions. Until next time.